Hey, how you doing? Justin continuing the lesson on with a look at the E chord. Now, a lot of people find the E chord a little easier than A and D. And the reason I pop it into lesson 2 is because if you've done your homework and you've practiced your A and D and you've got those changes up, when we add in the E, it feels a little bit easier. And the repertoire choices that we've got with those 3 chords becomes huge all of a sudden. So it's a lot of fun. So this is what an E chord looks like. It's actually a pretty cool one because we don't have to worry about not strumming any strings. We're going to strum all 6 strings for this chord. Now, as usual, we're going to start with the first finger. First finger is going to go down right next to the fret in the first fret on the 3rd string. So 1, 2, 3 in the first fret. Then we're going to put second finger down right up next to the fret again, but not right on it for reasons you're going to see in a second, but a tiny little bit back. And that's the 2nd fret of the 5th string, the 2nd thickest string. And then 3rd finger is going to go down right next to the fret there on the 4th string. So the 2nd and 3rd fingers are in the same fret. That's why I said to you, if you put your 2nd finger down there right next to the fret, you're trying to get that 3rd finger in is going to be pretty difficult. So 2nd finger will sit a little bit back from the fret. 3rd finger will be right next to the fret. So 1st and 3rd fingers right next to the fret. 2nd finger will go just a little bit further back. Now the key thing here, again, when you're learning your new chords is the strum, pick out, strum. So we start off by giving it a strum. Then we pick out the notes one at a time. And then we strum it again. Now, when I was learning this stuff, I found it really difficult to use a pick for picking the notes out one at a time. So don't be upset if you're going to use your thumb. Just go through and pick out the notes like that. That's totally cool as well. Like I said, you do the best you can here. You try and push yourself a little bit. That's okay. But don't feel upset if you find using the pick really difficult, because I certainly did when I was learning this stuff. Now, a couple of things about the hand position and the things we want to be aware of. Now, I've got the thumb there hooking over the top, and that's kind of a normal thing for me when I play naturally these days after having played for 30 years. At this point, you want to be keeping the thumb around the back of the neck, and that's really important. The reason is that we want to build up this muscle here between the first finger and the thumb for when we play these things called bar chords, when we're going to play like whole shapes and we've got to press all the strings down at once. So we really want to get that muscle nice and strong. So it's much better in the early stages to be playing with the thumb around the back of the neck. Now, exactly where it goes will depend on your anatomy, because everyone's got a different shaped thumb and it sits in a different place. So it should generally be speaking behind the fingers in the top half of the neck of the guitar, okay, roughly. It's not exact, so because like I said, everyone's slightly different. For some people, the thumb kind of points a little bit more toward the headstock. For some people, it points a little bit toward your face. Other people, it's straight up. You've got to find the place where it feels comfortable for you, where you feel like you can get good pressure on the fingers. Okay, so don't be stressed about like, where's my thumb going? It's going to be different for everyone. Just don't worry about it, okay? So it's a really important little part of the piece of the puzzle that you need to figure out kind of on your own, really. So, first thing, the thicker string. When you play that one, if it's dead like this, it's the 2nd finger's up too far and is touching that string. So just bring it back down so you've got that open string ringing nice and clear. When we're testing the 5th string, if that one's feeling a bit dead, it's probably you're not pressing hard enough, because there's not much else that can go too wrong with that one. If you're really far back, you'll probably get this sort of sound. So you want to bring it up as far forward as you can, and then just don't press too hard. Okay, we're not into pressing really hard all the time. We want to press as lightly as we can while still getting a good note. Okay, they're still getting a good note as lightly as you can. Really, really important. The note under your 3rd finger on the 4th string, probably not going to have too many problems with that one. As long as you've positioned it right next to the fret, you'll be fine. If you've gone over, you get this sort of slightly dead sound. So just behind the fret is where you want it. Now, the 3rd string, this is the most common problem note for beginners, and it's usually the 3rd finger leans over too far. So just like underneath here, underneath that 3rd finger is just going to be touching that string underneath. So you really got to just make sure that you get your 3rd finger nicely on the tip. Okay, don't let it be flat like this. It wants to be right on the tip of that 3rd finger. As long as you've done that, you should find that note's okay, because the 1st finger note, there's not too many other obstructions there other than that 3rd finger ringing down. When we go to test the 2nd string, if that's not ringing out, it's almost certainly going to be first finger. So the first finger's laying a little bit too flat again. You just want to get it right up on the tip. And if the thinner string's ringing out, it's probably this part of your hand, the underneath of your second or first finger is going to be touching there. So you just need to bring this part, like kind of your knuckles forward a little bit. Generally, you want to have a little bit of space in here. Not like, I can't quite get my finger right the way through there. It's just a little space, but basically this part of your hand shouldn't be touching on the fretboard. It should just be a little gap there. Not like right on it, not like right far away. You're just trying to, you know, a few millimeters, you know? It doesn't have to be much, just so it's not touching. So when you're practicing your chord now for your chord practice, you're going to strum, you're going to pick the notes out one at a time, and strum again. For most people when they start, it'll probably sound like this. And then you have to go through and third finger up and first finger up. And then when you've got that sounding good, then you give it a strum again and you tell yourself, this is how I want you to go, fingers. Remember this position. It's a really important part of the journey, is that final strum and just telling yourself, this is how I want you to go, fingers, and trying to memorize where they're at. Memorizing the chord shape is, of course, really important. You shouldn't be moving on to the next lesson until you've memorized your chords. You shouldn't be having to look at the page beyond like the first couple of days of your practice. Okay, so memorizing the shape of the chord, really, really important as well.